Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mahavik Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We were currently reading the topic I am God. I am God, we saw. What you associate the I with. You can associate the I with the personality now. You can say, I am Prasad. You can say, I am Ganesh. You can say, I am Ranjini. Now, one is what do you associate the I with? Second is, in reality, what the I is. So, what you are associating the I with, vis-a-vis what the real I is. Here we are discussing what the real I is. And what is the real I? The real I is, we have to use some word. So the word that is used is God. And we can't use any word because the word also should have some. You can't use any word because the word also must have some meaning in trying to convey what they are trying to convey. So, how does it really explain the word God? How does it really explain the I? The I we have seen in Atma Bodha. Remember this example, it's easy to understand. Remember that Atma Bodha example. You can say, I am the bulb enlivened by electricity, or you can say, I am the electricity enlivening the bulb. Two things you can say. One is you can say, I am the bulb enlivened by electricity, or you can say, I am the electricity enlivening the bulb. So, in I am God, you take the position of the electricity. In I am God, you take the position of petrol in the car. Not to be confused as a entity, not to be confused as a person or an entity, something. Because objectification is the way in which you can understand anything. All knowledge is possible only by objectifying something. If you do not know how to objectify, you can never understand anything. So in I am God, it is difficult because it cannot be objectified. Since it cannot be objectified, no way you can know. Because all knowing happens through objectification. Here you can never know. And at least, sir, can I have a glimpse of it? Can I know it partly? Can I get some glimpses here and there? Can I feel it? I am feeling it, but I'm not able to articulate it. Still, you are objectifying it as feelings. Still you are objectifying it as a thought. Still you are objectifying it. One. Second, objectification is the way in which you can take away all the methods of objectification. What remains is God. When all objectification methods are removed, something is backing it, and that is God. In Bhagavad Gita, end of chapter 3, he quotes Kathopanishad. Indriyani paranyahuhu indriyebhya param manah manasastu parabuddhehe yo buddhehe paratastu saha. He goes in the order. The senses and the sense objects. The senses and the sense objects. Sense objects are there. The senses perceive it. Does sense object perceive without the mind? Can sense organs perceive the sense objects without the mind? It is not possible. Therefore, who is the perceiver? Mind is the perceiver. That's how Kathopanishad brings it to I am God. In verse number 42, chapter 3. Indriyani paranyahu. Why the objects are not spoken about at all? The objects are not spoken about at all because they are the external, they are the grossest. So they start from the indriyas, the senses. So it is started from the senses. You cannot perceive anything without the help of the mind. Objectification means a play of an instrument. Objectification means a play of an instrument. Remember that. Objectification means an instrument will come into play. What are all the instruments that can come into play? Indriyani, manas, buddhi. These are the instruments that can come into play. Manasastu parabuddhehe yo buddhehe paratastu saha. That which is subtler than the buddhi is saha. Saha means he. He means God. Saha means he means God. So, what is being said here? What is it that is actually communicated? In that statement, I am God. I am educated, I am uneducated. I am rich, I am poor. I am good, I am bad. Similarly, I am God is not one, because there are very many attributes that is connected with the I. Now remove all the attributes which are the objects. Remove all the attributes which are the objects. What remains is God. And the only way of knowing that God is not getting in and getting out. Once you get in, you don't get out. If you are getting in and getting out, it means, sir, I saw God for 30 minutes today. Last week, suddenly afternoon, I felt the presence. And then half an hour later, what happened? An email came. And in that email, it is said, crash. My bank balance is gone. And what happens? You come out of God into the bank passbook. You follow? So it is something that you get in and you just don't get out. Once you get in, there is no getting out. And what is getting in means? That we saw already in the Aham Brahmasmi. You should remember that. Already we saw in Aham Brahmasmi. Therefore, when we say I am God, the God is not an attribute to I. I am rich means the opposite exists. What is it? I am poor. I am good. The opposite exists. When you say I am God, I am not God doesn't exist. There is no possibility of I am not God. But now I am not God, no, sir. But now it is true, no. Now I am not God. And one day I will say I am God. And the day you say I am God, you don't say anything else. Because when you say I am God, you say I was ever God. We saw that already. How does it work? All these derivations we saw in the Aham Brahmasmi Mahavakya analysis. We studied that in detail. Therefore, this I am God. What is this I am God? When you say I am rich, you and richness are different. When you say I am poor, you and poverty is different. How do you say that? Because at one point of time you can say I am rich, and then and then you genuinely say I am rich. At another point of time you genuinely say I am poor. At one point of time you genuinely say I am wise. At another point of time you genuinely say I am ignorant. Now what is this I? What is the problem, sir? At that point of time, rich, yes. And now it is poor, or poor at that point of time, rich at this point in time. Where is the difficulty? The I that you refer to is that which functions within the realm of time. The I that you talk about functions within the realm of time. That is why you have to say, I am a child. You cannot be a child ever. I am an old person. You cannot be old person forever also, isn't it? I am alive. You can't be alive forever. I am dying or I am dead. You can't be dead for ever also. So it means whatever you associate the I with, the I has a limitation of bound by the time. Anything that is bound by time is intricately bound by space and causation. So anything that you bound, anything that you associate the I with is described only under the constraints of time, space, and causation. Since it is described under the constraints of time, space, and causation, it is tangible, understandable. Are you able to follow? This is the logic. When you say, I am God, when you say, I am God, in the sense, rope is not a property of the snake. Both are one and the same. Snake never comes out of rope. Snake never merges back into the rope. Are you able to follow? So when you say I am God, the I is a reference to that which is not constrained by the time, space, causation. Or anything that is perceivable, understandable, conceivable, feelable, if there is a word called feelable, I don't know. Yeah. If there is no word, we will create one word, that's all. Isn't it? Everybody is creating one thing, we will also create. If it is feelable, understandable, thinkable, conceivable, It is bound by the time-space causation constraint. Anything that is bound by these three alone is perceivable, can be understandable. So when we say I am God, at one point of time, I wasn't God, now I am God is understandable. Correct, Ganesh? Purida? At one point of time, you can, if you say, right, sir, I was ignorant then, now I am wise. Correct. That is understandable. At one point of time, it was a snake. Now it became the rope. Is understandable. But to say that, it's not that you were out of godliness at any point of time that you have become God now. So in that sense, I am God. Why you cannot entertain the thought I am God? Even if you have to entertain the thought you are God, you have to entertain it with certain objectification only. Even if you have to entertain the thought I am God, how will you entertain the thought I am God? First of all, it will look like a joke to say I am God. Even if you somehow convince yourself to say I am God, you can only say it under certain, you can only say it with some objectifications of that God. Maybe powerful, maybe loving, maybe compassionate, maybe knowledge, knowing, maybe enlivener. Some word you have to use. Some word you have to use. And any word that you use is not it. By using words, don't start believing that you have known God. By using words, don't start believing that you know I am God. When you say I am God, you are God already. If I am God already, why don't I know it? If I am God already, why don't I know it? What is the answer to that question?
The entity which says I don't know can never.
Who is saying I don't know? That is a fallacy. Who is saying I don't know? Or the entity that says I don't know can never know. Therefore, this thing, you are God already. That's how the logic works. This is how the logic works, and it is a fallacious logic. It's not the right knowledge. It's wrong. It will say, if truths of life were so simple, I would have known it already. The very fact that it is not known means it is not that simple. You don't follow how the logic, how the thinking works. The fallacy, I'm just giving an example of fallacious thinking. If the truths of life were so simple, I would have known it already. எனக்கு already தெரிஞ்சிருக்கும் சார். எப்போ எனக்கு அது already தெரியலையோ, it is not. It's not there. It's not that simple. Whereas Vedanta comes and says, you are God already. The loss of the body is not your loss. The gain of the body is not a gain. The loss of the body is not a loss. That's all. I am God. This is too much to comprehend. It's almost like even as I'm listening, it is not that. Even as I'm listening, it is not that convincing. Therefore, what the Shastra does, okay, you see something as finite. No. What you see as finite is infinite. Okay, if you don't understand this Aham Brahmasmi and all this stuff, you are seeing something, correct? And what you are seeing is finite. That finite, you understand it as infinite. Not that you understand it, you see the reality. Okay, two words, finite and infinite. The next topic that we are going to start is finite is infinite. This word finite and infinite can be used in two ways. Remember this. One is in a philosophical sense, another is in a mathematical sense. Somewhere down the line, both carries a similar meaning when it comes to this. Somewhere down the line, but not in the strict mathematical sense. So here we are using the word finite is infinite in terms of the philosophy. To put it very simply, finite means measurable, countable. That's all it means. Finite means measurable, countable. And there are very many ways to measure. There are very many ways to count. But finite means what it is? It is measurable. It is countable. Infinite means that which is immeasurable, that which is not countable. That which is immeasurable, that which is uncountable is infinite. This is the English meaning of the word finite and infinite. Etymologically, infinite means that which cannot be counted. Finite is that which can be counted. Finite is that which is measurable, countable, understandable. You use any word. Infinite means uncountable, immeasurable, isn't it? So all that we know is finite. That which is not the linguistic opposite, but something that exceeds the finite is infinite. Are you able to follow? Infinite is not the opposite of finite. Understand that? Infinite is not the opposite of finite. Infinite means any word to define infinite becomes a problem. To put it very simply, to put it in a very simple way, all philosophy, mathematical thinkers, all philosophical thinkers, all mathematical thinkers from time immemorial are always intrigued, it demanded the attention of the concept of infinity. That very idea of infinity, the very concept of infinity attracted so many. To put it very simply, finite means measurable, countable. When we say measurable, countable, what it implies in Vedantic language? measurable, countable. In Vedantic language, it means it has a beginning and an end. So finite means that which has a beginning and an end. Are you able to understand how we derive at this meaning for finite? It has a beginning and, because measurable means measurable means 2 known entity, two factors. Then only you can measure. The whole philosophy is on this point. They keep talking and talking and talking, never come to a conclusion. Okay. To give a simple example, either the world started at a specific point in time or it never had a beginning. Correct? Just take it as a simple as a simple thing. Either the world began at a specific point in time or it never had a beginning. These are the two possible points. There is no third possibility, isn't it? If you say world began at a specific point in time, it means what? Everything of the world will have a beginning and an end. Because world itself had a beginning, and all that has a beginning will have an end. Therefore, world itself had a beginning and an end. Means all that is of the world also will have a beginning and an end. Even if you take this understanding, you become a very good philosopher. Agamapayino nityaha tam titikshasva bharata. Verse number 14. You would have covered that verse. Huh? You follow? Aristotle thought world never had a beginning could be proved. And all his philosophy is about that. Aristotle thought. Another philosopher, the name you really won't know all this, but still the infinite is infinite. Aristotle thought the second could be proved. World never had a beginning. Augustine thought the first could be proved. World had a beginning. Mathematician Aquinas thought neither could be proved. Kant tried to prove both. Kant thought both could be proven. And the entire philosophical thought is revolving around this idea of infinity. In philosophy, it will be used infinity. In theology, God. But both means one and the. It doesn't matter whether you use the word infinity or you use the word God. All means the same thing. What it means is what? That which you see as measurable, countable, understandable, that which has a beginning and an end, if you can penetrate and see at the core, it is not finite. Since it is not finite, it is infinite. So finite is infinite. Another topic. Able to follow? Finite is right. Though it looks like finite means measurable, quantifiable, countable, understandable, all that we said. You can go deeper into that. As you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, what appears to be finite at A level is going deep and deep and deep. A time comes where I'll have a headache and I'll stop, sir. I'll have a headache and I'll get a headache and we'll stop. There is the problem. Or close the subject and say, "Idella waste of time. Might as well go back and do something." What happens if you penetrate deeper and deeper and deeper? If you keep penetrating deeper and deeper, the vastness, you start getting a glimpse of the vastness. The glimpse of the vastness neutralizes the instruments.
Oh.
Understand that. The glimpse of the vastness, the instruments gets melted, neutralized, melted. And the angle is like camphor, it will simply melt. Why? Instruments find it is of no relevance. It will simply melt. So if you go deeper and deeper and deeper in the way that it is prescribed, the way that Vedanta prescribes, what happens? Instruments will be alert and survive as long as it understands, believes, things it can know. The moment it reaches a point where it is just, the vastness is too much, what happens to the instruments? It will just bow down. When it bows down, it simply vaporizes. It just melts away. When the instruments melts away, what remains is vastness. That vastness is infinite. And that infinite is God. And that God, I am. Out of the sequence. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how he's taking it from finite to infinite. Now we'll read the book. Anshu.
Finite is infinite. The finite presents itself as infinite. It may sound paradoxical, absurd, but on a careful scrutiny, you find it to be true. You see infinite expression in the finite. Examine the mineral, vegetable, animal, and human kingdoms. Analyze their nature. You will arrive at the above conclusion. The mineral kingdom is made up of matter, and matter is constituted of atoms. An atom is so minute, yet packed with enormous power. The nuclear explosion speaks eloquent of that. Just imagine all the power contained in the countless atoms in matter. It seems infinite. In the vegetable kingdom, also, there is infinite expression. A single seed can generate an endless chain of trees and seeds. Sow a seed in the earth, it grows into a tree. A tree produces numerous seeds. These seeds, in turn, can produce countless trees and seeds. The chain goes on endlessly. Just imagine all these emerging from one seed. A seed packed with infinite potential, infinite power. You perceive the infinite concealed in the finite. So it is with the animal world. The wise sees the infinite portrayed in the finite. A cat produces a litter of kittens. The kittens grows up into cats. These cats again produce many more litters of kittens. Thus, the progeny goes on endlessly. Innumerable cats emanating from a single cat. The same principle holds good for the human species too. A single human being can generate an endless progeny. You may be finite, but you display infinite potency and power. You would accept this infinite capacity in a human with respect to the past and the future, but not so with regard to present. At present, you consider yourself to be a finite being with limited power and strength. This is not so. Even with respect to your present status, you seem to possess immense capacity, inexhaustible potency, infinite power. Think carefully. Analyze your day's activities. List them out. You woke up, had breakfast, drove to office, attended to your business, returned home, had a workout at the gym, showered, and now reading this book. Is that all? You answer, yes, that is all. Perhaps a few odd things I may have missed out. No more. Now follow closely. You have actually done much, much more, but not aware of it. You have been executing countless activities which you do not mention. For instance, your eyes have been seeing objects. Each time you see an object, you subject the cells in your eyes to a series of subtle actions before the sight is registered. M. Michel Waldrop writes in Science 85, consider the capabilities involved in strolling down the road. Leaving aside such things as balance and coordination, you still have to see where you are going, which means you somehow have to make sense out of the ever-changing swirl of motion and color and light and shadow. To accomplish this, you have at your command roughly 100 million receptor cells, the rods and cones in the retina of each eye. The retina also contains 4 other layers of nerve cells. Altogether, the system probably makes the equivalent of 10,000 million calculations a second before the image formation even gets to the optic nerve. And once the visual data reaches the brain, the cerebral cortex has more than a dozen separate vision centers in which to process it. In fact, it has been estimated that vision in one form or another involves some 60% of the cortex. Of course, you remain blissfully unaware of all this. You simply glance across the street and say, oh, there's Sally. All these activities emanate from you. You are responsible for them. Besides your eyes seeing, the other sense organs are also busy with their respective activities. They are again innumerable, countless. These activities are all yours. You have produced them. Furthermore, your mind entertains numberless feelings, emotions. You produce each one of them. So also your intellect conceives endless thoughts. You produce them all. Besides these, you are responsible for respiration and perspiration, eating and evacuating, digestion and distribution of food, etc. Countless cells in your body, hair on your skin, blood in your arteries and veins are all functioning through you. At this very moment, you are producing infinite actions. Remember this through your life. Realize this truth. What you consider as finite is actually infinite in nature. You must recognize your innate nature. Discover the truth in yourself. You are not a finite, limited, constricted being as you believe yourself to be. You are infinite. You are God Almighty. That is the truth. Hold that view at any cost. Do not compromise on truth. Assert yourself. I am all. I am everything. The microcosm and the macrocosm are in me. I am infinite God.
From this, we understand infinite as in the vastness, as in the immeasurable and all that, resulting anything vast, anything immeasurable, how does it help? The wonderment is that which actually melts. It is the wonderment. Everyone follow? That infinite is not the vast, the vastness results in wonderment. That wonderment results in
Melting.
the disappearance of the wrong association with the I. That is how this finite is infinite helps. The entire beauty of Vedantic study is, carefully follow what I am saying, is to take you to that height of wonderment. Should take you to that height. It is intended to take you to that height. Each and every question that is asked, each and every answer that is provided is to take you to that height. If that wonderment is not being, if that wonderment isn't happening, you are being a very mere academician, that's all. Nothing is stirred in you. No change is happening in you. You are simply satisfied. What? You ask a question, there is an answer, and that answer satisfies. But in philosophy, in Vedanta, we don't take that stance at all. Why? Because each and every answer produces 10 more questions, and that 10 more questions will produce 10 more answers, and that 10 more answers will produce 100 more questions, and you will end up with? You will end up with what? What will you end up with? Unanswerable questions. But somewhere down the line, you will get a fatigue and you will say, I understood. Somewhere down the line, the fatigue comes in and you say, I understood. Are you able to follow? The child and the father is walking. And the child looks at the tree and asks the father, why the leaves are green? Why the leaves are green? Why the leaves are green? Vijay. The chlorophyll, isn't it? Don't you know this? Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. Because of chlorophyll, the leaves are green. Very good question. Very good answer. Nobel Prize is given. What happens? That answer doesn't stir anything. For a person of the deeper penetration, question, the why still remains the same. Correct? Why leaves are green? Because of chlorophyll. Is why answered? In that answer, leaves are green because of chlorophyll. Is why answered? Yes or no? No. Because the why still remains. Now the why from the green, the why has shifted to what? Purida? Venkatachalam. Why leaf is green? Chlorophyll. Because of chlorophyll. Is the why answered? No, because the why has shifted now to chlorophyll. Why chlorophyll? And you give an answer. What still remains? That why remains. That why remains. After a period of time, you just get fatigued and you say, this is an infinite loop. We'll go only mad if we keep talking like this. Stop. Stop. Vedanta says, no, 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 don't stop. Don't keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. It will appear to be madness. Don't worry. It's not madness. Why? Because it is going to result in wonderment. That wonderment is infinite. That's how all these examples that he's given here, he's trying to explain this point. Are you able to follow? I'm only elaborating the concept behind this example, because these examples we have studied any number of times, we have heard this any number of times, and you can come up with your own. Everybody can come up with their own examples. It's not wrong. Ultimately, what it matters, are you able to get into that state? What is that state? That state of wonderment. Ascharya. Kathopanishad again. Ascharyavat pashyati kaschitenam ascharyavat vadati tataiva chanyah ascharyavat chainam anyo shrunoti shrutvapyenam veda na chaiva kaschet. Krishna quotes Kathopanishad in Bhagavad Gita. Kathopanishad. It is wonderment. It is wonderment. It is wonderment. And what is the nature of wonderment? The beauty of wonderment is it can neutralize the ego. The ego gets neutralized in wonderment. Simply evaporates. Simply evaporates. That is why we say go out into the nature, go out into the nature, go out into the nature. Just don't keep sitting within the 4 walls and the 10 feet ceiling. You go out and look into the sky. Yeah. Even if you get spondylitis also, it's okay, isn't it? Look into the sky. The finite is infinite. What the instruments see as finite is infinite. Why it is infinite? Because it's a reflection of the infinite. Because it is a reflection of the infinite, it has to be infinite only. Because you stand in front of the mirror, the reflection that you see will be, the reflection can never have anything independent of, the reflection cannot be different from the original, correct? That's why it's a reflection. That's why we call it as a reflection. So finite is infinite because that finite is a reflection of the infinite. So everything is reducible to what? Everything is reducible to wonderment. Or till you hit that point of wonderment, you should keep going. You should keep, till you hit that wonderment, you should keep going. It will appear to be insane, but don't worry, it is not insanity. It is one. And anyway, that insanity is a better insanity than the current insanity, isn't it? Anyway, that's a better insanity. So it's better to be that insane than to be this current insane, isn't it? Therefore, finite is infinite. Wonderment implies what? Okay, even relatively, if you see, okay, take a relative example itself, you'll understand. when you are in pain and misery, time seems to be very slow. Time is very slow when you are in pain, when you are in misery. Have you observed it? The same time is fast when you are happy. Even before I realize it, so fast, isn't it? It means what? So at one level, there is something called time, which is independent, which is independent of any being. In reality, what is it? The time that you are experiencing is dependent upon the state of development of that individual. Are you able to understand now? The time that they experience is directly dependent upon the development of that individual. That is why we say more and more and more happy, time keeps moving fast. In samadhi, upon enlightenment, what happens? Time totally disappears. Time simply disappears. Yeah. You can't say it stops. You should say it disappears. Just as the snake disappeared. Just as the snake disappeared, time disappears. What seems to be finite, as you keep evolving and evolving and evolving, it keeps changing and melts away ultimately. Are you able to follow? Even relatively also. Even space, same logic applies to space, same logic applies to causation. Here he is giving the examples of causation. Cat to one cat to another cat, one cat to another cat, one cat to another cat. Here the analysis is done through the methodology of causation, cause and effect. How it is infinite, correct? That's the example he gives, isn't it? One produces from one seed, one atom produces infinite energy, as it were. See, infinite means what? Disproportionate, inconceivable according to the size. That's what is called infinite, relatively also. What is the size of an atom? It has a size, isn't it? It has a size, it has its own way of measurement, etc. Logically speaking, that will have only energy capacity of that much, isn't it? Why it is infinite means that unit is showing capacity which is so illogical in considering to its size. Correct? On the other the space is defeated, causation is defeated, time is also defeated. When you're defeated means all melts away. So take an example, mineral kingdom, it means animal vegetable kingdom, animal kingdom, human species. All through there is this finite is infinite. Remember, the senses are not designed to see it. The instruments are not designed to see it. More and more and more you penetrate, the instruments get into the state of wonderment. Remember that. The instruments are not designed to see it. Instruments cannot see it. The fact that it is not seeing it only is that instrument. Isn't it? The fact that it cannot see itself is what the instrument, meaning It can see only something. And what we are trying to discuss is like the atom and the power of the atom bomb. So what you can see is impossible to conceive that it has that it has in it. According to the development, you can see it. That's why I gave the example. According to the development, you see it. What is meant by according to the development, you see it? As the time keeps, as the very experience of time keeps changing, according to the state of your development, isn't it? When you are in misery, which is a very poor state, time is too slow. When you are happy in ecstasy, time flies. Imagine the highest enlightenment, samadhi.
Time here.
You can't say infinite time there. You can say time simply
Vaporize.
disappears, vaporizes. It simply vaporizes. It simply disappears. When it disappears, it doesn't disappear into zero. Disappearance is not into zero. It disappears. When you say disappears, and finally become nothing. The disappearance is not resulting in nothing. The disappearance results in losing the finite nature and gaining its original nature. So what is lost? The limited finite nature is lost. What is gained? The true nature is gained. Apuryamanam achala pratishtam. Samudram apav pravishanti yadvat. Like the river entering the ocean. Like the river entering the ocean. So finite to infinite is not the loss of anything. It is the merger into the original. So it's not loose, it is not losing anything. It is not the loss of instruments. It is not the loss of ego. It is not the loss of anything. It is simply merging with the original, or simply regaining the true nature, original nature. That's how you understand it. Finite is infinite. Even relatively also you can understand. And what we are trying to understand here is in the infinite sense only, not in the finite sense. In the limited sense means what? The capacity is disproportionate to
Its potence.
it's the what it contains vis-a-vis what you see. That difference is the wonderment. Are you able to understand now? What you see vis-a-vis what it actually contains. So when you start understanding what it contains, that is recognizing the finite is infinite. That is recognizing the finite is infinite. Because you are able to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And every time you go deeper and deeper, it is wonderment, isn't it? Ascharya. That's why relatively we give this example. So many times we have given this example. Children will never get tired of looking at an elephant. You can go to the ocean and you can't get tired. And you can't get tired that fast. Why? The vastness. Wherever there is a vastness, what works? The ego goes down. Through knowledge and understanding, it understands what it sees as the smallest thing itself is vast. So it need not go to a vast expression. That's how Vedanta helps you to go. Are you able to follow? Otherwise, every time we want to neutralize the ego, we have to go to one place, isn't it? Yeah. Niagara Falls, you go once, Australia is over. Next time you cannot go, isn't it? We have to find some other place, no? Next trip. We have to go to some other place because how many times you see the same Niagara Falls? The person who drives us says, "Sir, you go and see. I will sit in the car only." Why? Because wonderment happens only once. Through knowledge and understanding, you recognize the wonderment where you are, inside of you itself. How do you recognize the wonderment inside of you itself? That's where that Mitchell Waldrop and all other activities that emanates out of you. All this is the classic Vedantic way of recognizing the infinite. Instead of going from place to place. So people ask Ramana Maharshi, why can't we go on a pilgrimage tour? Because if you have to be considered as a saint, at least once you should have visited the Himalayas, isn't it? Because in this country, we have the certification process, isn't it? We certify who's a saint, who is not a saint, isn't it? What is the certification process that we have? Himalayas, he should have visited at least once. And he has not even visited Chennai. Aparandana Himalayas. He didn't even come. So people said, how can you be called as the wise man? Because you have not visited, isn't it? At least Tirupati should have gone. Or at least Rishikesh. At least Amarnath. What is this? Badrinath, Kedarnath. Vedanta says, don't go and pollute there. Just stay here only. Yeah, let that place remain. For whoever it is, let it remain. You be here only. And go inside of you, and you can recognize the same. When you go inside of you and recognize the same, it is with you permanently. That's how this concept that finite is infinite starts from looking at it from outside and gradually coming inside and inside and inside. And when you come inside and inside and inside of you, where do you stop finally? The enlivener. Where do you stop? You hit the enlivener. And when you hit the enlivener, you will say, I am all. I am everything. The microcosm and macrocosm are in me. I am infinite God. You will say this. When you see it outside, you will say, oh God. You will never say, I am God. When you see it inside, you will say, I am God. Everybody understand the difference, Anshu? So when you see outside, you will only say, oh God, you will say. Yeah. You will never say, I am God, isn't it? But when you start seeing it inside, then only you can say, I am God. Therefore, start seeing it in you and assert it. Okay, sir, all this is fine, but some indicators of how that person will be. All this is so vague. We don't know whether that person is inside or outside, or even when he says, I am God, we really don't know whether he's saying, I am God, or he's simply saying, I am God. How do you know? Some characteristics of development is there. Some indicators are there to know whether you are rightly moving in the direction of saying, I am God. There are some indicators, which is what we will see next week. So for today, the topic, finite is infinite. With this, we conclude for today, and we continue next week with the characteristics of self-development. Thank you.